Hey Bookends! Welcome to a 10-minute book review. I'm 10. Today's book review is going to be on The AI Who Loved Me by, I want to make sure I'm saying her name right, Alyssa Cole. I believe it's Alyssa Cole. So we like to start off every book review with a star point, as in out of 10 stars, how many stars this particular book garner, and a rating, as in if this was a movie or a TV show, what would it be rated? Star point out of 10 stars. This is a 6-star read. It was not bad. It had some detractors, but not very many. For a rating, this won't be the first book that we've had this issue with. Honestly, if it had no love scenes at all in it, or if the love scenes had been creatively demoted to kind of fluff scenes, this could have been a solid PG-13. So with the love scene, it is a rated R because it is a very graphic love scene, or at least begins off that way. So yeah, without the love scene, it is a PG-13, a solid PG-13. With the love scene, it is completely an R. But to be fair, I don't foresee, if this became a movie, that particular scene being put into the actual movie. Could be wrong, but I don't foresee it. So, jumping right on in, the book stars a young woman by the name of Trinity. Trinity works for this place called the Hive Group, but she's currently on leave due to being in an accident. And what she's doing while she's on leave is she's kind of like a virtual Uber driver. So in the future, instead of having people, Ubers, cabs, things like that, basically every car is a Telsa. It can kind of drive on its own, except it's not really that the car is driving on its own. Someone is controlling it virtually through a drive station. The reason why this is because, just like in that movie with Will Smith, AI had to decide between whether or not the car that it was controlling should hit a school bus filled with children or a truck filled with synthetic meat. And it reasoned that the truck filled with synthetic meat had more intrinsic value than the bus filled with real living human meat. So yes, so now instead of having completely AI drivers, the cars appear to be AI, but it's really actually a person driving. So that's what she does right now while she's recovering from her accident. She has two friends, Rowena and Yana, I believe. I usually don't mention side characters, but I'm mentioning them now because they do have a role to play. So yeah, while she's recovering, she breaks her workstation because she was tinkering with it, and her friends are helping her to fix it. One of her friends asks her to make her some coffee or some matcha, and when she goes to do so, she sees her mixer is missing. Oh, why is this such a big deal? Well, apparently in the future we live in very small but tightly kept apartments, and everything has its place, and every place has a thing in it. So the fact that her thing is missing is a problem, but she believes that because she's been experiencing some memory loss due to the accident she was in, it's probably just that she misplaced it. So when she walks herself down the hall to a neighbor of hers that she likes, lo and behold, when she goes to knock on the door, a very handsome, tall man answers the door. And that turns out to be Li Wei, our second protagonist. So, it's no spoiler to say that Li Wei is the AI who loved her. So there is a bit of a, I don't want to say it's not drawn out. The book isn't drawn out. But it does take a while to get to that point. It's interesting how the author creates this interwebbing of personalities. So I say that because Okay, so we know that Li Wei is AI. We know that he's not 100% human. He is essentially a synthetic human, a human grown from human DNA, but is essentially robotic. So he feels like a human, walks like a human, has the ability to talk like a human, and do things like a human, even feel like a human, because his outer components are essentially organic, but his internal components are mechanic. So he's an organic, mechanical man. So there's an interesting exchange between him and Penny. Penny is the Siri, Alexa, Google, whoever it is you normally speak to ask for the weather. That's who Penny is. She is everybody's AI. And when she's talking to the human, she's very, I would love to help you. I'm here to assist. What would you like to know? But when she's talking to him, she's like, you know you just lied to that human. Why are you doing that? No, I'm not going to give you that information. I had to work for it. You got to work for it too. So she's a bit sassy. In the review that Tu and I wrote in regards to this book, we said that she had the sass of Siri, the willingness to help of Google, and kind of like the attitude of Alexa. So she's like all of the AIs that we currently use all in one. And so this book disguises itself as a romance. I'm sorry, my iPad just lit up for no reason. I'm sure it had a reason, but I'm not about to find out right now. So yeah, I forgot, I lost my train of thought. Okay, there we go. We are fighting this chronic fatigue. But I will say, for my chronic fatigue to be hitting me today, I think, I can't be 100% sure, but I think I look coherent. I don't think my eyes are glossy. I don't think I look tired. Could be wrong. Could be loving myself a bit more than what I'm really worth. I don't know. Anyway, I'm getting back to the book. So, they have these interesting exchanges, and I honestly find, out of all the characters, I know that Li Wei and Trinity are the main characters, but Penny's my favorite. So yes, this book is touted as a contemporary romance with elements of sci-fi, because it's the AI who loved me. So we have AI for science fiction and loved me for romance contemporary. But it's a lot more than that. It's actually a bit of a thriller too. Not giving anything away, but it is a bit of a thriller. What else can we say about this book? So we listened to it as an audiobook, so it was a 5-hour listen, so it wasn't that long. So it's not a very involved read. It is something you can get through in a day if you have just time to listen to, if you're cleaning up or something. If you just have the time, you can get through it in a day. What else about this book? And we really did like it too. Yes. Okay, so in regards to the love scene. The love scene is graphic but easy to suss out. It's, you know, there is kind of a lead-in to it, so to say, and so it's easy to skip over, and it's not very long, so it's graphic but not long, if that makes sense. So I was able to easily skip right on over it and get back to the story. The ending is a happy one, which is nice. A lot of ends have been tied up, even though there's one end that hasn't been. There are certain things in the book that just didn't make sense though. Like there are these spiders who are stealing things in her apartment, but it doesn't give a reason why, and it's just random things like a whisk, a baseball cap. It's very odd, very odd. Also, I would have liked to have known what happened to the doctor who created Li Wei. But we don't find out. I think there was going to be a sequel to this book. I think it's gonna be Yana's story. I did try to look up and find if the sequel came out already, because I believe this book came out back in 2018, either 2018 or 2019, so it's been 3 or 4 years, right? A little 2 or 3 years, I should say, since it came out. So I was wondering, like, where is it? But we don't know. So yeah, I guess she's working on other projects, which is good. Now, if you're familiar with our channel, you may know that we read a different Alyssa Cole book a few years back for Blackathon, and we had to DNF it because the level of cursing in it was just sky high, and neither of us are into books that curse a lot. Like, I'm not into profuse cursing. I can take some for the purpose of review, but if it's like just a lot, then I'm done. This book did have some cursing in it. It was not heavy, it was peppered throughout. However, it did become heavy towards the end of the book, which was something that I did not understand why that had to happen. It didn't make sense. It was just kind of like thrown in, like maybe someone was reading for content and said, oh, she didn't curse enough, let's just throw some F words in right here. Well, you know, it's not a lot up front, but if we throw it in the back, it'll work. So yeah, like the amount of cursing that took place towards, I'll say, the middle end just didn't make any sense. But at least it is forgivable because the plot is solid. There are some plot holes, but in general the plot is solid. It is a woman who meets a man who turns out to be an artificial intelligent being, who she ends up falling in love with, and who ends up falling in love with her. So that plot is solidified. The plot doesn't deviate from that idea too far. In fact, doesn't deviate from that at all. You get what you paid for, so you don't have to worry about any bait and switches, like, oh, it's an AI, but really it's a monkey. Like, no, it's really what it is. Would we recommend it? That is a hard thing to say. It's hard to say whether or not we'd recommend it, honestly, because the plot of the story was really good. The characters were very fleshed out for who they were. And we were invested in the characters. We were invested in Trinity, and we were invested in Li Wei because we wanted to see Li Wei's advancement and learning how to become human. We also wanted to see Trinity's advancement and learning how to become herself again. So we were thoroughly invested with the characters. However, the implementation sometimes left us wondering, why is this even here? Also, just to let you know, everybody needs a cat named Tim. You don't know about Tim the cat, you need to read this book. Everybody needs a cat named Tim. Also, I love that the protagonist, that Trinity, was not someone who needed to be saved. She was just someone who needed help being fixed. I know I'm stuttering a bit, but once again, chronic fatigue. I don't know if I'm gonna make a video about my chronic fatigue. I don't think it's I don't know if a lot of people suffer from chronic fatigue. But I guess when you have heart problems, you suffer from chronic fatigue. I don't know. If you too have heart problems and therefore suffer from chronic fatigue, please feel free to leave a message in the comments, because I don't know. And this is quite alienating, and I'm doing the best I can, but oh yeah, it's hitting me now. Now I'm starting to zone out a bit. Okay, so with that, I'd like to say thank you so much for watching. This has been a 10-minute book review. If you like what you see, please like and subscribe. Bye, Bookends.